So here we are, back with chapter 41 and part 2. Once inside, I ducked into the ladies and spent 10 minutes in a cubicle so that the tears I'd been holding back could fall. Steph, you okay? I heard Sarah calling. Yes, I'm okay, I sniffed. I'll be out in a second. I wiped the tears away. This club is pumping tonight, Sarah said, grabbing my hand and propelling me through the crowds and onto the dance floor. I let the beat flow through my body and closed my eyes, dancing until I was exhausted. After a quick break, Jack pulled me back onto the floor with him as we giggled and laughed together. Then as the clock ticked down to midnight, it was possible for our group to be on the dance floor, so we joined hands around our table and did the countdown, then Auld Lang Syne. After a few more thumping tunes, the DJ changed to slower songs, and I was left at the table with Mark. "Would you like to dance?" he asked, offering his hand. "Okay," I replied, and he led me onto the floor and pulled me close. As he held me in his arms, I thought about all the differences between Mark and James. Mark was shorter, so my head came to his shoulder, and he had green eyes. He just felt different. Then the familiar strains of Take My Breath Away surrounded me and I started to shake. Looking up into Mark's face, he must have mistaken my trembling for something else, as I watched in slow motion his lips heading towards mine. As they touched, it was all that I needed to realise that I couldn't do this. Not now, not ever. It was too soon. It was too much. I pushed him away, turned and fled. I grabbed my coat from the cloakroom attendant as the lyrics hunted me down and seemed to echo through the cold night air. I slipped out of my heels and picked them up, running barefoot down the street. I pushed my way through revellers already homeward bound, as the hurt inside me thumped in time with my heart. All the way home I ran and cried. The tears would not stop, and I knew that at home all that awaited me was the invitation and the return to St. Christopher. I fumbled with the key in the door as my parents were out for the evening, pushing my way through. Stopping for a moment, I leaned against the door and made my way through to the dining room and to the drinks cabinet. Momentarily I was distracted by the Christmas tree that stood resplendent in its glory. The baubles twinkled under the fairy lights, and I walked over towards it and reached out for one of the glass ones. I plucked it from the tree and held it in my hands, noticing the fragility of it, just like my life at the moment. I was the bauble and James the hand, and slowly I crushed it, and it shattered into 1,000,000 pieces that twinkled even more vibrantly as I threw them back into the tree. Looking down, my palm was scattered with red dots of blood, and I knew what I had to do. I found a bottle of vodka and took that up to my room, thinking I might need it to numb the pain, hurt and anger inside of me. I put some music on and took a long slug. I wasn't much of a drinker, so it burned as it went down, and I almost threw it back up. But by the third mouthful it was starting to take effect, as my room swam around me. I listened to George singing, "Where Did Your Heart Go?" Such a mournful lament, but so true of the way I was feeling. When it finished, I stood up and replaced the needle on, so it started again and again and again. All the time I was staring at the invitation, the necklace hanging between my fingers. Standing up, I staggered over to the mirror and stared into it. My life had gone wrong. I had no other option. Turning around slowly, I headed for the bathroom and started to fill the tub with warm water before I returned to my room. The words George was singing played over and over in my mind, even though the record had ended and the house lay silent. I grabbed the phone receiver and instinctively tapped in James's home number. Even though it was the early hours of the morning, I longed to hear his voice one last time. But it rang and rang until I let it drop from my fingers. It must have been out with her. I fucking hated her for what she'd done to me, and she had done to us, because we had been perfect together. I picked up my paperweight from the desk and slammed it into my mirror. obliterating my tear-stained face as it shattered around me, spilling sharp shards across the carpet. Removing my dress, I found his shirt, and once more wrapped myself in its fabric. I placed the St. Christopher around my neck and picked up the sharpest shard that lay at my feet. With invitation in hand, I crossed the room and stumbled to the bathtub. It was full, so I closed off the tap and stood there for a moment. Then, without any more thought, I drew the jagged edge across my wrist. I didn't feel anything at first, so I quickly did it again, and then switched hands and slashed across my other one. I held my hands out over the steaming water and watched in fascination as droplets of blood hit the surface and spread out in ripples, fading further and further away. That's where I wanted to be, further away from the pain that would just not leave. After a final slug of vodka, I dropped the bottle on the tiles and that shattered too. I stepped over the rim and sat down, a stain of pink creeping up from the hem of his shirt. Somehow I ripped up the invitation that I still held in my fingertips and scattered it over the surface of the water. It was now a perfectly pink colour. My hearing started to fade in and out as I closed my eyes and saw James standing before me, his beautiful face shining as he reached out his arms towards me. I started to recite all the beautiful lyrics that made up our love affair. I'm waiting for a star to fall and carry my heart into your arms. We can be together forever and never to part. You are the desert and I'll be the sea. My voice trailed off, and then everything started to become numb, including my heart. I had found escape from the pain of living without James. Charlotte realised tears were streaming down her cheeks, and she wiped them away. That was the real reason behind the faded scars on her mum's wrists. She tried to commit suicide. Who had saved her? But why had James sent the invitation? No, wait, it must have been Felicity who had sent it, but using an envelope written by James. How would Mitchell's dad deal with this information? How was this all going to work out? January 1989 was included at the end of the diary, so she wiped her eyes and looked through a few further pages, hoping to put the final pieces of the jigsaw into place. And I'm afraid you're going to have to wait till next week to find out if she does. So once again, hope I haven't upset you all too much, and thank you for listening. If you want to read on ahead, you can download a copy for free from my website, which is www.audrinalane.co.uk, and once again you can also buy a copy on Amazon for your Kindle. It'll only cost you about 99p or $1.40 for this really good read. And if you want a paperback copy, then that's also available on Amazon, or if you want to contact me, I'll get you a copy over to you. Anyway, thanks again for listening, and I'll speak to you again next week. Bye for now.